This video is only possible thanks to viewers like you. To support the channel and get more, go to patreon.com/optimisticduelist and subscribe. Link in the description. The Kansas City Shuffle is a type of scam, where the con artist makes sure the victim is aware they're being taken advantage of, but misleads them into believing they already understand the nature of the con, and how best to circumvent it. In taking the actions they believe will do so, the victim ends up helping the con artist complete the actual goal of the con. In other words, it's a trick where the victim's own vigilance is what sets them up to fall. At the very end of Hiveswap Act 1, the entire act reveals itself as a Kansas City Shuffle, and if that's the case, then the only real victim it could have at its center is Jude Harley, Joey Claire's dorky and vigilant younger brother. To Joey, the sudden intrusion of monsters into her peaceful, if lonely, day-to-day life was a nightmarish surprise that required a realignment of her worldview. But to Jude, it was just the fulfillment of a prophecy that had been a long time coming. Even though he's just a little kid, no older than 12, Jude Harley knew about the mysterious cultists operating in the town of Hauntwitch. He knew what was coming for his family, and what was coming was danger. And especially for a kid, boy was he ready for it. It's really only because of Jude that any of them make it through the monster attack alive. His only real mistake is in assuming that the cultists are after the snake portal, when the real goal of Doc Scratch's con seemed to be to deliver Joey through the portal to Alternia to fulfill his unknown ends. But even that Jude managed to predict in a way, since the icon on his shirt depicts an alien abduction, like the one he was apparently doomed to witness. For the majority of the narrative, Jude seems to play the part of a Seer of Doom, that is, one who invites knowledge of doom or invites knowledge through doom for the benefit of others. And he plays his part very well. In his paranoia over the cultists, Jude spent a big portion of his childhood studying things like siege tactics, which allows him to predict how and when the monsters will attack and break through their home's defenses, and so lead Joey to safety as effectively as possible. He even set up preemptive defenses in Tesseract's doghouse, keeping Joey's beloved dog safe for her even when she didn't believe him that there was any danger to begin with, and even sometimes mocked him for what she perceived as paranoid delusions and nerdy fantasies. But in some ways, he's also the story's most tragic victim, which I hope will start setting in for you as we begin looking at the symbols and motifs that, I believe, mark Jude as one of the Doombound, described by the Homestuck Extended Zodiac as the universe's chosen sufferers. It's not even all about the cultists. Jude just seems to think in terms of danger, risk, and potential death. His strife weapon is a flare gun, a tool he thinks to keep for the express purpose of alerting others in case he's put in a horrible, dangerous situation of some kind, but which itself carries the risk of starting dangerous situations if you don't follow all the rules for caring for it properly. Applying the mentality of rules to reality gives Doom some interesting imagery, particularly a focus on duality, like black and white, echoing the fundamental principle of yin-yang. A rule that states that all of reality will invariably switch between states of active and passive, forceful and flowing, proactive and reactive, growth and decay. Nothing can stay the same forever after all. The duality motif also seems able to take on more specific colors that reflect the particular fates of the Doombound who wear them. The Captor's red and blue binary ultimately reflects Lord English and his indomitable control over the fates of both the human and troll sessions, and Jude seems shadowed by a binary of red and green, which might reflect the Shara portal all the Hiveswap heroes are bound to, but is also at least once connected to Lord English. The red and green marbles Jude sends to Joey through repeated acts of sacrifice ultimately find their ways into the eyes of a lion, who centers his gaze on Alternia with his penetrating red-green glare. The lion's head is the archetypal symbol of the demiurge Yaldabaoth, who Lord English represents. Doom describes how the world binds us under rules and limits, and the restraint we must have in order to follow them, or else face the consequences. It is at once the various inertias that keep us from living our lives to the fullest, the bitter pessimism that can overtake us as we feel the weight of those limits, and the peaceful catharsis and empathy we can develop when we embrace fate for what it is, and realize that being subject to its whims is what binds us all under the common experience of being alive. The most obvious of these rules are things like death, pain, and loss, all of which Jude has experienced plenty over the course of his life. Remember his lone gunbirds? Well, each of these birds seems to represent one of Jude's family members, and he seems to relive the loss of said loved one through the loss of the bird. Frohike is his favorite, representing his mother, and he finds himself absolutely devastated when he dies. He puts his faith in Langley, but is disappointed and furious when the cowardly bird representing his father runs away, leaving him behind to fend for his life. Notably, he tells Joey he's so furious he can't properly communicate the degree of his outrage, and of course Byers ends up entrusted to his sister Joey, and he loses both of them together when they step through the snake portal and enter Alternia. And in his praise for the bird, Jude describes Byers as a Hyperion child who pulls the sun. He also issues some dramatic prophecy, describing Byers as he whose beak splinters the skin of tyrants. If we want to keep an eye out and test whether Jude's status as a seer seems equally certain later into Hiveswap, keeping an eye on both Joey and Byers seems like a good idea. Doom is also the aspect of unsustainable consumption and sacrifice, like fire that consumes and uses up everything in its path until nothing is left, and inevitably burns itself out. In our reality, we could use the example of fossil fuels, which we burn up to provide ourselves with power and energy, but which sacrifice the long-term health of both ourselves and our planet. This can also take the form of unsustainable labor carried out by individuals, like the vicious slavery through which Alternia forces gold-blood psionics to use their energy to power Imperial warships until they simply die from burnout. On Earth, it might look more like a little kid forced to keep such a watchful eye on mysterious, threatening strangers that he kind of just forgets to have a childhood. And make no mistake, as competent as he is, all of these pressures really do take their toll on Jude. Joey vaguely alludes to Jude needing to seek mental health care in the past, and this is like an 11-year-old kid who thinks really intensely and dramatically about death, and just as emphatically denounces his life as a rotten, dark nightmare of a world. His whole situation is just really sad, especially by the end of Act 1 when he's lost his sister, who's like the only person he has left that he feels close to at all. There is a silver lining here, I guess, because realistically, Jude's arc is going to be about getting better. We know that because the moment we start playing as Jude, we unlock an achievement that echoes the Beatles song, Hey Jude. And if you somehow haven't heard this song, and this video did anything to make you rethink Jude, make you feel for him a little more, and left you kind of sad, then I really suggest you take a moment to listen to it, because I think it speaks for itself.
Hey Jude, don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. And anytime you feel the pain, hey Jude, refrain. Don't carry the world upon your shoulders.